Hey guys, Matthias from Wildlife Solutions here. We're officially in August and everybody's busy with trail cameras and food plots and putting up stands. I just wanted to go over a few things that might help you out for this upcoming season. I know a lot of you guys are probably finding some good deer and starting to get those trail cameras out. And a lot of times I think trail cameras might hurt some of you guys more than they're helping you. I know guys get pretty anxious and they're going into these big bottoms and putting cameras out and trying to get pictures of this big buck from last year, and they're probably doing more harm than good. This time of year, keep those cameras out where you can get to them easy. Don't be going in there once a week or every couple days looking for this deer. We're early enough, give him time. Yes, it's nice to know that he's alive. Let those cameras sit for a month. And when you're going in and checking them, check them on not ideal situations. If it's sitting on a food source, don't go in after work 6:30, 7 o'clock at night when them deer are starting to come out. Maybe do it on a Saturday morning when it's raining, or right before rain. That's when I like to check mine. These trail cameras can definitely give us a lot of information, and they're definitely a good tool to use, but they can also have problems just like everything else. So just make sure you're not going in too often. Make sure you're going in at bad times for the deer. Like I mentioned earlier, not in prime time feeding, or if it's back in a bedding area, not when they're bedded in there. You don't want to be bumping these deer when you're going in and out checking your trail cameras. Putting these cameras on the edge of your food plots can be a great spot for them. They don't need to be way down deep in the woods. But these food plots, I know a lot of guys are getting geared up. If they haven't planted already, they will be planting here shortly. It's beginning of August right now. Make sure those food plots, make sure you guys are doing your weed control. Whether that's disking or tilling or using chemicals. You do not want weedy plots going into the fall. There's talk about the deer might like them. It offers more browse, more diversity, maybe in the summertime, but come October, when all those weeds and grasses are dead, now you're left with half of a food plot. And it doesn't matter 1 acre, 5 acres, 20 acres worth of food plots. You need every inch of it to count. So make sure you guys are staying up on your weed control. The other thing that I see common issue is food plot layouts. If you guys have the ability, make these plots long, narrow. Don't be putting 2-acre square food plots in. Deer are creatures of edge, so give them some edge to follow. Even in pre-rut, when them bucks are looking for does, they can stand on the edge of the wood and check a 2-acre field. You got a long, narrow plot with a stand set up accordingly. That buck's got to come within 25 or 30 yards of you, however you have it set up. So try to keep that in mind. I know a lot of guys are permission only or lease ground, and you can't just put them wherever you want, and I get that. But try your best to kind of spread those out a little bit. And also, when you guys are designing these spots, I see a lot of people fail. They put these food plots in because it's in a clearing or a ridge top or whatever's easy for them. And that's fine. But a lot of people are putting in food plots and they still don't have an idea of how they're going to hunt it. And that is probably the most important thing you can do for your food plot, is figure out how you're going to get there. You can have the best food plot around, but if you can't hunt it, it does you no good. So keep that in mind. Make sure you got good access going in and out of your food plots. Sometimes some of the best spots are not so good because you can't get to them. And that's just all there is to it. Put them where you can use them, where they will benefit you Make sure you have good access going to them, and it'll make for a lot better hunt this year. So you found a good access path, you got a food plot all set up, you got a stand hung, and that's great. You think you're ready for season. These food plots, they can be very beneficial, but I'm telling you, it doesn't take very long to clear a food plot out. If you're onto a good buck, most of the time, most of you know, you're not going to get very many chances at him. And I see a lot of food plots with a tree stand set right on the edge of them, in the wide open. And you guys cannot do that. These stands, they have to be hidden. Those deer cannot see you, hear you, or smell you going in or out of these food plots. You can have 10, 15 deer coming to a food plot every day. Season opens here October 1st. Last week of September, I see it all the time. Food plots are just full. They're coming in every night. 5 days into season, no deer are coming to that food plot, or maybe just a handful of does is all that's coming. If that's happening to you guys, that's because they're busting you either going in or out. I cannot stress enough that these stands, they have to be hidden. They have to be quiet. These big deer, they will not tolerate that. And it will not take them very long to switch food sources, or maybe even switch bedding areas altogether. They will not deal with it. They will not come to those food plots if they feel pressure in any sort of way. And I know some of you guys are on permission ground or lease ground, or like we mentioned before, or maybe you only own just a few acres. I mentioned before about making long linear food plots, long, narrow versus big squares. That's also going to help you when it comes time to set up stands. I know a lot of people, they only have 2 food plots, and that's the 2 stands that they hang. And I'm telling you guys, if you're hunting those 2 stands every weekend, you will experience the October lull. You will have most of those deer busted out of there. Your average person is not hunting those food plots properly. They're putting way too much pressure on. They're not being quiet. They're getting busted going in and out, and these deer are not going to tolerate that. With these long food plots, spread them out. That gives you more stand options. And if you only have 2 stands, then you just got to learn to pace yourself. Hunt them on the best days. You can't be in there every single weekend, every Saturday and Sunday, every night after work. Just because it's deer season, I got to hunt. More is not better. These deer, they won't take that kind of pressure, and it does not take very long to give your food plot a bad rep. And once it has it, it's really hard to bring them back. And I just want to mention, guys, when I'm talking about these deer, I'm referring to older, mature, the biggest bucks in the area type deer. A lot of people, I hear it all the time, well, the 4-wheeler don't seem to bother them. I see those does all the time. They just stand up and look at me. Yeah, but does that 170-inch buck stand around and wait for you to go by? I don't think so. So just because you're seeing deer on your food plot every night, I want you guys to pay attention, and I want you to kind of take blame. I see a lot of people complaining that the deer are on the neighbors or they're nocturnal, and that's because you're putting too much pressure on them. I've done it on 15 acres, I've done it on 10 acres, I've done it on 40 acres. It can be done, and it's not that complicated. You just have to lay off the pressure. You can't let those deer know that you're there. Some of them does and younger bucks, they'll tolerate it, but these big mature bucks, they won't. So just keep that in mind as you guys are getting cameras out and food plots ready and tree stands hung. All that stuff can be great, but just like everything else, it has it has issues and complications that go along with them. So keep this stuff in mind. I hope it helps you guys out, and good luck.